Hello YouTube. So tonight I'm going to be canning up my string beans that I got on sale tonight for 99 cents a pound. I'm going to be pressure canning them. Right now I'm just going to clean them up. Basically snap the ends off, cut them into, you know, pieces for the canner, and I'll be back. And I also keep a bag basically when I'm doing this, any vegetable waste, I'm just going to pop it in this bag, and then pop it in the freezer, and it will go into my vermicompost bin. My bin has been running since January of 2014. I'm going to do a video update on that very soon. But I always freeze whatever fruit and vegetable scraps that I put in the freezer, that I plan to put in the vermicompost bin, to make sure that I do not get any fruit flies. Being that I keep I'm in an apartment and I keep my vermicompost bin inside, I don't want any fruit flies in the house. They're a nightmare. But anyway, I'm going to get this done and these snapped up and cleaned up. I've got my pressure canner. I've got a prep, and my jars I need to wash and get loaded in there, and when I've got everything ready to start the process, I'll bring you back. So at this point I've washed my green beans thoroughly and brought a 20-quart stock pot of water to boiling, and I'm going to blanch the green beans for 5 minutes, as Ball and National Center for Home Food Preservation both call for. So at this point I've washed and sterilized my jars. I've added a 1/4 teaspoon of canning salt per jar, and I'm going to pack my hot beans into hot jar, and I'm going to use the blanching water to top off the jars to 1-inch headspace. And of course I'm wiping my rims after debubbling the jars before I add the Tadler lids and bands. I prefer the hot pack method when canning my green beans because I feel that you can just get more beans in the jar. Of course, safely within reason and maintaining that 1-inch headspace. Like, I don't want my veggies floating in the water. And it's important that you remember to debubble each jar and wipe those rims so that your seal isn't compromised. And with these Tadler lids, I'm literally just tightening the band enough to where they start to turn in place on the towel. It's the best way to ensure that you get a seal with Tadlers. And of course, immediately after I pack them, I'm placing them in the canner to keep them hot. Sorry for the shower cap. I'm doing a coconut oil treatment to moisturize my hair. So here I wanted to do a top-down shot to show that I'm maintaining that 1-inch headspace. And of course with these, because I'm doing more than one jar at a time, I'm making sure that I work fast to keep these jars from cooling off so that they don't break in the canner. Now, as you can see right here, this is what I was talking about. Literally, after you put those Tadler lids on, you're just going to turn your band enough to where that jar starts turning in place on the towel. See, it starts to turn and you stop. And I don't like to add too much salt to my canned vegetables, but I think a little bit of salt with the green beans just gives them a better flavor. I can't stand store-bought canned vegetables because they have that metallic, tinny, metal flavor. Having these beans on hand is really a great resource for meals, especially on nights you're in a hurry and want to make sure that your family's having their vegetable for the night. I can literally just pop open a jar, add some butter and salt and pepper, and serve them up. And even though I did get this many jars put up, I still will be putting up more throughout the season every time I catch them on sale. It's one of the tricks to building a food storage when you don't have a garden, is really stocking up when you can get your stuff that you like to can for your family on sale, and really stocking up so that way you have that in your food storage inventory. And here, of course, as soon as I get that canner loaded and coming up to pressure, I'm washing all of my dishes from this canning session so that way I'm not having a lot of work to do later on. And of course, to make sure with my tiny kitchen that I have room and am ready to go when it's time to pull the jars out of the canner. So once my canner has come to pressure, I'm going to can these at 10 pounds of pressure for 20 minutes for pints, 25 minutes for quarts. And of course it's 10 pounds of pressure for my altitude here in New York City. At this point, my canner has come down from pressure. The dial is at 0, and when I go to lift the weight, there's no steam coming out. I open the canner, let the jars sit for 5 more minutes to adjust to the temperature, and then I pull them out, and the jars that I did use Tadler lids on, I'm tightening the band. As you can see, I'm not cranking down, I'm just tightening them to where there's no more give. And for doing this, I love using these UV gloves because it allows me to have a better grip on the jar so I'm not dropping them or burning my hand trying to mess around with a towel. And these 2 jars that I did use the ball lids on, you do not tighten the bands on those. You just take them out of the canner and set them on your towel to rest for 24 hours before removing the band. And see the way the beans are not floating to the top in the jar. This is why I like hot packing these. Raw packing, it the air is still in the bean, and if you don't blanch them, then your beans are going to float. when you process them. Green beans are a really easy thing to put back on the shelf and build your food storage out, especially when you can get them on sale or if you're growing them in your garden. I'd love to have the kids participate in canning, but they really have no interest in it right now. So when it comes to the work involved around doing this, I do it by myself. Sometimes they'll stand in the kitchen and watch, but basically teenagers have no interest in something like this, but at least they will have the skill and know how to do it if they choose to later in life. And with the Tadler lids, I don't like using adhesive labels on my jars or my lids. I think it's a pain in the butt to scrub those things off. And I don't like the sticker residue that is left on the jar or the lid. So with these, I just use a Sharpie. And when it comes to washing them, the Sharpie will wash off of the Tadler with hot dish water and some Dawn dish detergent. And somebody, I forget who, had brought up the issue of staining on some of the Tadler lids. You can see a couple of my lids in this video have that orangey tone. That's from tomatoes that I've canned, like salsa and pasta sauce, pizza sauce, things like that. I don't mind the staining at all. And with the Tadler lids, I don't like using adhesive labels on my jars or my lids. I think it's a pain in the butt to scrub those things off. And I don't like the sticker residue that is left on the jar or the lid. So with these, I just use a Sharpie. And when it comes to washing them, the Sharpie will wash off of the Tadler with hot dish water and some Dawn dish detergent. And somebody, I forget who, had brought up the issue of staining on some of the Tadler lids. You can see a couple of my lids in this video have that orangey tone. That's from tomatoes that I've canned, like salsa and pasta sauce, pizza sauce, things like that. I don't mind the staining at all. I bought these lids to use them, not to look pretty. I bought them for their purpose, which is, I bought these lids for the green factor. You're not contributing waste to the environment because these are reusable indefinitely. But in my opinion, they're more budget friendly in the long run. Hello YouTube. So tonight it's been 24 hours and my green beans have rested. So now it's time to take the lids off the jars, wash them, label them, and put them back in food storage. Some of my jars did have some siphoning, but I think that was because the fans I have running, I don't have air conditioning in my apartment. For one, it's just not in the budget, and two, the city has been cracking down on people that have window air conditioning units, and basically because of people improperly installing them and ACs falling out of windows and killing people, our building has banned window AC units and want people to use the through-the-wall air conditioners, which cost an arm and a leg. And I would need 4 for my apartment, and it's just not in the budget. So anyway, I had fans running, so I think that is what caused the siphoning. We had 90+ degree temperatures, so I couldn't not run fans. It's just unbearable. During the summer, that's one of the main reasons I do my canning at night. But regardless, most of my canning is done at night and on the weekends. But anyway, I just want to show you taking the lids off of the jars, that they're sealed. And of course, you just want to thoroughly wash your jars in hot soapy water. Sometimes these jars stick, the lids stick, and that's okay. And you just want to test your seal just by picking it up from the lid. But I ended up getting 22 pints out of that 12 pounds, 9 ounces. And the ones that have a little bit more siphoning than the others, it's okay to use. They were filled to 1-inch headspace and debubbled and the whole 9. So the ones where the siphoning occurred, I'm just going to put them toward the front of the case and my food rotation. So that way they get used up first. But so far, all of my Taddlers seal, and again, I do prefer Taddlers to Ball, mainly because they're more budget friendly in the long run. Yes, they are an expensive investment up front, but you know, in the event of a financial disaster, a job loss, you know, I'm not having to worry about going out and buy new lids. These can be reused indefinitely, and you can buy the extra rings. And I did use 2 Ball lids that came off of a new case of jars because I didn't have enough Taddlers clean. But as you can see, there's no bounce back on the lid, and I'm lifting from the lid and it's sealed as well. I don't have a problem with getting my jars to seal with the method that I use of screwing the band on. That one did not seal, so I'll just heat that up and add it for dinner for tonight. And in the meantime, I'll just put it in the fridge. So out of 22 jars, I only had 1 jar that seal failed. And like I said, I'll just heat that up for dinner tonight. And the ones that had some siphoning, like not all of it happened, like it didn't happen to all of them. I don't know if you can see. And then some, I had some siphoning. It doesn't make it unsafe. Again, they were filled to 1-inch headspace. They were properly processed at the right amount of, at 11 pounds of pressure for, you know, the appropriate amount of time. It was 20 minutes for pints, 25 minutes for quarts. So everything was done right. It's just, you know, it happens sometimes, and that's okay, but it doesn't mean your food is bad. As long as your seal, your jar is sealed, it's still fine to eat. I would just put these that siphon to the front of the boxes when I put them in the pantry, and they'll be used up first. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a good night.